Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel Legal Decipher. In the previous video, we discussed about chapter 7A of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. If you have not seen that video, you can go and check it. The link is in the description below. Today we will discuss about the contents of chapter 8 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. We'll go through the chapter and try to understand how the criminal procedure is followed and how the criminal courts work. If you are new here, please like and subscribe to my channel to get video notifications. So let's get started. So today we are going to learn about chapter 8, which talks about security for keeping peace and good behavior. Now section 106 is a preventive measure taken against a convict by the court of sessions or magistrate of first class, where if such court thinks fit, it may order the convict to execute a bond with or without sureties that such convict will keep peace for a certain period which will not exceed 3 years. So the maximum time period for which such security is to be taken shall not exceed 3 years. Now the offences for which such security will be taken are written below. It includes any offences mentioned in chapter 8 of IPC. Now what does chapter 8 of IPC contain? It contains offences against public tranquility. Now there are also some exceptions written here. Those exceptions are section 153A, 153B and 154. Now these three sections talk about promotion of enmity. Now these three sections are excluded, but the other offences that fall under chapter 8 are included. So in cases of offences that fall under chapter 8 of the Indian Penal Code, other than section 153A, 153B and 154, and any offence which consists or includes assault or using criminal force of committing mischief, or any offence of criminal intimidation, or other offence which caused or is intended or known to be likely to cause a breach of peace. In all these cases, the court may order the offender or the convict to execute a bond for keeping peace. Now we should keep in mind that the abatement of these offences will also enable the courts mentioned here to make the convict execute a bond in this perspective. Now subsection 3 says if the conviction is set aside on appeal or otherwise, the bond so executed shall also become void. So in case of a set aside of the said order of conviction in an appeal or otherwise, the bond will also become void. And subsection 4 says an order under this section may also be made by the appellate court or by the court where the powers of revisions are exercised. So not only the court that is passing the conviction, but also the appellate court or the court that is exercising the powers of revision can make this order. Now let's talk about section 107. It says security for keeping the peace in other cases. So when an executive magistrate receives information of any kind of breach of peace or disturbance to public tranquility, he may require such person to show cause as to why such person should not be ordered to execute a bond for keeping peace. Now it is necessary to mention here that this section has practical application in an executive magistrate court where these cases are proceeded with. We can learn this from subsection 2. It says that proceedings under these sections may be taken before executive magistrate where either the place where the breach of peace or disturbance is apprehended is within the local jurisdiction, or in this jurisdiction a person who is likely to commit such breach of peace or disturb the public tranquility to do any wrongful act is beyond such jurisdiction. Okay, now section 107 is a preventive measure that an executive magistrate can take when he receives any such information of breach of peace or disturbance to public tranquility, and he requires a person to show cause as to why he should not be ordered to execute a bond with or without sureties. But such order for keeping peace shall not exceed 1 year. Now let's talk about section 108. It says security for good behavior from persons disseminating seditious matters. So what does section 108 say? It says when an executive magistrate receives information that there is a person within his jurisdiction, or the person may be outside his jurisdiction but is acting within his jurisdiction, and such person is disseminating. So what is the meaning of this word disseminating? It means spreading the word. That means this person is spreading such and such opinions or words orally or in writing, or is attempting or abetting to do so. Regarding what? Regarding these matters that are mentioned herein. It says any matter that is punishable under section 124A or 153A, 153B or 295A of the Indian Penal Code. Now we know section 124A talks about the punishment of sedition, and section 153A and 153B and 295A, these sections are all about promoting enmity or spreading hatred regarding anything that is religious, okay, or any matter that is concerning a judge who is acting or discharging his official duties, and that dissemination amounts to criminal intimidation or defamation under the Indian Penal Code. So this clause relates to the matters concerning a judge who is acting or purporting to discharge his official duties under the Indian law, or if such person is found to make, produce, publish or keep for sale or import, export, convey or sale or hire or distribute or publicly exhibit any matter or puts into circulation any obscene matters that are referred to in section 292 of the Indian Penal Code. In all these cases, such person will be required by the magistrate. We are talking about the executive magistrate here. The executive magistrate will require such person to show cause as to why he should not be ordered to execute a bond for his good behavior with or without sureties for a period not exceeding 1 year. So in this case also, as section 107 we have read there, in this case also the period shall be for 1 year. So the executive magistrate will order him to execute a bond that he will be conducting good behavior for the next 1 year. Now there is an exception to this section. It is written in subsection 2 that no proceedings shall be taken against under this section against editor, proprietor, printer or publisher of any publication that is registered, edited, printed or published in conformity with the rules laid down in Press and Registration of Books Act 1867. So the press, which is also considered as the fourth pillar of the democracy, will be excluded if it is editing, printing, publishing in conformity with the rules laid down in Press and Registrations of Books Act. But the state government or any officer empowered by the state government in this behalf shall have the final authority to order the containment of such publication. Now section 109 talks about security for good behavior from suspected persons. So when an executive magistrate has information that within his local jurisdiction a person is there who is taking precautions to conceal his presence. So the person is basically trying to hide his identity or his existence in a view to commit a cognizable offense. So he is trying to commit a cognizable offense, and for that he he is trying to conceal his presence, then the magistrate may require such person. So the executive magistrate will require such person to order to execute a bond with or without sureties for his good behavior not exceeding a period of 1 year, or as the magistrate thinks fit. Now section 110 talks about the same security for good behavior by an executive magistrate, but the person here from whom such security for good behavior is obtained is a habitual offender. Is a habitual offender of the following offenses. It says if he is an habitual robber, housebreaker, thief, forger, receiver of stolen property, knowing the same to have been a stolen property, harbors thieves, aids the concealment of disposal of stolen property, or habitually commits or attempts to commit or abets the commission of kidnapping, abduction, extortion, cheating, mischief, or any offense punishable under chapter 12 of the Indian Penal Code or under sections 489A, B, C or D of the code. Now chapter 12 of the IPC talks about offences relating to coin and government stamps, and 489A to 489D of the same code talks about counterfeiting currency notes, possessing of those and etc. Or if such person is a habitual offender who commits or abets breach of peace, or he habitually commits or attempts to commit or abets the offenses that are mentioned here. Those are related to drugs and cosmetics, foreign exchange regulation, employees provident fund, prevention of food adulteration, essential commodities, untouchability, customs, foreigners, etc. or any offense punishable under any law providing the prevention of hoarding or profiteering from adulteration of food or drugs or of corruption, or if the person is so desperate and dangerous as to render his being at large means to let him roam around freely without security hazardous to the community. So if the person is so desperate and dangerous that if we keep him on loose, then he may pose threat or cause security hazards to the community, then in all of these cases, the executive magistrate may require such person to show cause and execute a bond with sureties. So remember, in these cases he will have to produce sureties and he will execute a bond for his good behavior for a period not exceeding 3 years. So in this case the time period is for 3 years, not 1 year, for 3 years, as the magistrate will think fit. So section 111 says order to be made. It says that when a magistrate who is acting under section 107, 8, 9 or 10 and he feels it necessary that it is necessary to require any person to show cause under such sections, then he will make an order in writing, and in that order he will mention the following things, that is the substance of the information received, the amount of bond that is to be executed, the term for which it is to remain in force, and the number, character or class of securities, if any, that is required. So all these things will be mentioned in that order, and that order will be a writing order by the executive magistrate who is acting under section 107, 108, 109 or 110. Now section 112 says procedure in respect of person present in court. So say for example, if the person to whom such order is made is present in court. So if the person against whom such order is made is present in court, then the order shall be read over to him, or if that person desires, then the substance of the order will also be explained to him. Now section 113 talks about summons or warrant in case of person not so present. So the question in mind comes is that if that person is not present before the court, which is very likely to happen in most of the cases, this thing happens, that the person is not present in the court, then in that case the magistrate will issue a summon requiring him to appear. Or if such person is in custody of a particular police officer or anyone else, then a warrant will be directed to that officer in whose custody that person is at present, and the court will require such officer to bring him before the court, provided that whenever it appears to such magistrate upon the report of a police officer or any other information that there is a fear of commission of breach of peace, and such breach of peace cannot be prevented, otherwise immediate arrest of such person is done, then the magistrate will issue a warrant for his arrest. Now section 114 says that a copy of order to be accompanied with such summon or warrant. So in every case that we learned under section 111 or 113, if a summon or warrant is issued under those sections, then a copy of such order of issuance of such summon and warrant shall also be served with such summon or warrant. Now let's move on to 115. It says power to dispense with personal attendance. So a magistrate, if he sees sufficient cause, then he may dispense with the personal attendance of any person called upon to show cause. So a person is required to make a personal attendance before such magistrate according to his order, but such magistrate may also dispense such personal attendance, and he may permit the accused to appear by a pleader or through his advocate. So let's move on to section 116. It talks about inquiry as to truth of information. So what does section 116 talk about? It talks about when an order made under 111 is read over or explained to the person against whom it is made. So basically it says that after the compliance of section 112 or 113, as the case may be, the magistrate, the concerned magistrate shall proceed to inquire into the truth of the information upon which such action has been taken. So there is an information that is received. Now the magistrate will test the veracity of that information, whether such information is true or not. He will inquire into that matter and to take such further evidence as may be necessary. So the magistrate will also take further evidence regarding this information and the following case. Now such inquiry shall be made as nearly as may be practicable in the manner hereinafter prescribed for conducting trial and recording evidences in summons cases. So the CRPC has already talked about, and we have also learned about it in the previous videos, about how evidence is recorded and trials are conducted in summons cases. So that same procedure will be followed in this case as well. Now subsection 3 says that after the commencement and before the completion of the inquiry mentioned in subsection 1. So we are talking about a time period that is basically in between the commencement and the completion of the trial, that is mentioned in subsection 1, the inquiry. So in this period, if the magistrate considers that it is immediately necessary for the prevention of breach or disturbance of public tranquility, or that a commission of an offence that is against public safety may occur, then the magistrate will record his reasons in writing as to why he is doing so and order that same person to execute a bond with or without sureties for keeping the peace or maintaining good behavior until the conclusion of inquiry is conducted, or he may also detain him in custody until such bond is executed, or in default of execution until the inquiry is concluded. So a magistrate may make that person against whom an order is made under section 111 to execute a bond with or without sureties that he will keep peace or maintain good behavior until the conclusion of inquiry, and if he fails to do so, the magistrate may also take him into custody until such bond is executed or the inquiry is concluded. Now, provided that no person against whom proceedings are not being taken under section 108, 109, 110 shall be directed to execute a bond for maintaining good behavior, or the conditions of such bond, whether as to amount or provisions of sureties or the pecuniary extent of their liability, shall not be more onerous than those specified in the order under section 111. So the proviso says that the persons against whom proceedings under 108, 109 or 110 are not taken, where the proceedings are not taken against them, then they shall not be directed to execute such bond, and the conditions of such bond, if it is executed, then the conditions of such bond regarding the amount of sureties or pecuniary extent of liability or amount shall not be onerous. Onerous means, to understand simply, it shall not be strenuous or difficult than those specified in the order under section 111. So it shall not be more strenuous than the order that is made in section 111. Now subsection 4 says that for the purposes of these sections, the fact that a person is an habitual offender, or he is so desperate and dangerous that he may render security hazards to the community if he is let loose, then such allegations may be proved by evidence of general repute or otherwise. So if a person is to be proved that such person is a habitual offender, or he is very desperate or very dangerous that he cannot be rendered to be let loose in the society due to security hazards to the community, then such and such allegations will have to be proved by evidences that are of his general reputation or otherwise. Now subsection 5 says that where two or more persons have been associated together in the matter under enquiry, then they may be dealt within the same or with separate inquiries as the magistrate shall think just. So it is the duty of the magistrate to whether inquire about them in the same proceedings, or the magistrate may issue separate inquiries for two or more persons. Now subsection 6 says that an inquiry that we are talking about in this section shall be completed within a period of 6 months. So the final deadline is 6 months. The inquiry will have to complete within 6 months from the date of its commencement and not more than that. And if such inquiry is not so completed, then on the expiry of the said date, the inquiry will automatically terminate. Now however, it may continue for special reasons, but those special reasons will have to be recorded in writing by the magistrate. And the proviso to subsection 6 says that where a person is kept in detention pending such inquiry, then unless such detention is terminated earlier, it shall stand terminated on the expiry of a period of 6 months of such detention. So the detention has also the same extent of validity as the case is or the proceedings is. So the proceeding will also continue for 6 months and the detention will also continue for 6 months. On the expiration of 6 months, both the proceedings and the detention will terminate. Now what does subsection 7 says? It says when any direction is made under subsection 6 permitting the continuance of proceedings. So if the executive magistrate permits the continuance of proceedings even after 6 months, then the accused may move to the sessions judge, and on an application made to the sessions judge by the aggrieved party, The sessions judge has the power to vacate such direction if he is satisfied that it was not based on any special reason or was perverse. Section 117, it says order to give security. So if upon such enquiry the magistrate is of the view that the person in respect of whom the enquiry was made should execute a bond with or without sureties, then the magistrate shall make an order in accordance to that, provided that no person shall be ordered to give a security that is of a different form, whose nature is of a different form, or it is of an amount that is larger than or a period that is longer than those that are specified in section 111. So strict compliance to section 111 shall be made in this behalf, and the bond amount shall not be excessive, and when the person in respect of whom the enquiry is made is a minor, then no personal bond shall be allowed. Only a bond executed by the sureties will be allowed in this case. So all these measures will be taken in compliance of section 117. Now what does section 118 say? It says discharge of person informed against. So if an enquiry is held under section 116 and it is not proved that the person against whom such proceedings was conducted should execute a bond, then the magistrate shall make an entry on the record to that effect, and if the person is in custody only for the purposes of this enquiry, then he shall be released, and if such person is not in custody, then he shall be discharged of such proceedings. So this section talks about the discharge of a person against whom such proceeding was held. Now section 119 talks about commencement of period for which security is required. So if any person against whom such proceedings are running is ordered to require a security under section 106 or section 117, and at the time of making such order the person is sentenced to or undergoing a sentence of imprisonment, the period of which the security is required in this case shall commence from the expiration of such sentence. So the person will first serve the sentence and then the period of security will be commenced, and in all other cases such period shall commence on the date of such order unless the magistrate for sufficient reason fixes a later date. So in all other cases where the person is not undergoing a imprisonment or another sentence, then in all those cases the period of security shall commence on the date of such order of magistrate, on the date from which the magistrate has passed the order, or if the magistrate finds some sufficient reason, then the magistrate may also fix a later date for that purpose. Now section 120 talks about the contents of the bond. So it is said that the bond to be executed by any such person shall bind him to keep the peace or good behavior as the case may be, and if that person commits or attempts to commit or abates the commission of any offence that is punishable with imprisonment, then whenever or wherever it is committed, it will be considered as a breach of such bond. Now section 121 talks about the power to reject sureties. Now a magistrate may refuse to accept any surety offered or may reject any surety that he previously accepted or his predecessor accepted under this chapter on the grounds that such surety is an unfit person for the purposes of this bond. So the magistrate has the power to do so. He can reject or refuse to accept any surety, provided that before so refusing or before rejecting any surety, he shall either himself hold an inquiry on oath into the fitness of such surety. So the surety will by an affidavit try to prove his fitness, and the magistrate will himself hold an inquiry for that purposes, or he may cause such inquiry to be held and a report on that behalf to be made by a magistrate subordinate to him. So he may also delegate that power. Such magistrate shall, before holding the inquiry, give reasonable notice to the surety. So a notice will be forwarded to the surety and to the person by whom the surety was offered, and the magistrate will also record the substance of the evidence adduced before him. If the magistrate is satisfied, after considering the evidence so adduced, either before him or to the delegated magistrate, that the surety is an unfit person for the purposes of this bond, he shall make an order refusing to accept or reject, as the case may be, such surety and record his reasons for so doing. Now, provided that before making an order for rejecting any surety who has previously been accepted, the magistrate shall issue his summon or warrant, as the case may be, and make him bound to personally appear or be brought before him. Section 122 talks about imprisonment in default of security. By the heading we can see that if a person fails to give security, then he will be imprisoned. So if any person is ordered to give a security under section 106 or 117 and he does not give such security on or before the date from which security is to be given commences, then he shall accept in the cases next hereinafter mentioned. So the exceptions are mentioned hereafter, but except in those cases, in other cases he will be committed to prison, or if he is already in prison, then he will be detained there until such period expires, or until within which such period he gives security to the court or magistrate who has made those orders. Now clause B says, if any person, after having executed a bond with or without sureties under section 117, is proved that he has committed a breach of the bond, then the magistrate will record the grounds of such proof and order that person to be arrested and detained in prison until the expiry of the period of the bond, and such order shall be without prejudice to any other punishment or forfeiture to which such person is liable in accordance with law. So other punishments and forfeitures will not be disturbed, but that person, if found to be committing a breach of the bond, then the magistrate will record such grounds of proof and detain him in prison or order that person to be arrested. Now, subsection 2 says, when such person has been ordered by a magistrate to give security for a period exceeding 1 year. So when that person is ordered to give a security for a period more than 1 year, then if such person does not give such security, then the magistrate will issue a warrant directing him to be detained in prison, and the proceedings shall be laid as soon as conveniently as may be before the sessions judge. Now subsection 3 says that such court, after examining such proceedings and requiring from the magistrate any further information of evidence which it thinks necessary, and after giving the concerned person a reasonable opportunity of being heard, may pass an order as it thinks fit. So the court will require from the magistrate any further information and examine such proceedings and give a reasonable opportunity to the person of being heard, and then pass an order as it thinks fit, provided that the period for which any person is imprisoned for failure to give security shall not exceed 3 years. Now subsection 4 says that if security has been required in the course of the same proceedings for 2 or more persons, then also the provisions of the subsection 2 and 3 will apply in regard to this person, except that the period for which he may be imprisoned does not exceed the period for which he was ordered to give security. Now, for the purposes of this section, it is mentioned in subsection 5 that a sessions judge may, in his discretion, transfer any proceedings that is pending before him regarding this matter to a additional sessions judge or assistant sessions judge, and such additional or assistant sessions judge may exercise the same powers of a sessions judge in this regard. Now, subsection 6 says, if the security is tendered to an officer in charge of a jail, he shall forthwith refer the matter to the court or magistrate who made the order and shall await the orders of such court or magistrate. So it may also happen that the offender who is committed to a jail in this regard and he failed to provide any security to the magistrate, but now he is providing security to the officer in charge of a jail. So the officer in charge of a jail will not take the security into his own hands. He will forthwith refer the matter to the court or magistrate who has made the order, and he shall await the orders of a court or magistrate. Now, if the court or magistrate has communicated his further order to the officer in charge of a jail, he shall act accordingly. Subsection 7 says, imprisonment for failure to give security for keeping the peace shall be simple. So it will always be a simple imprisonment. Now, subsection 8 says, imprisonment for failure to give security for good behavior, if the proceeding has been taken under section 108, then it will be simple. So under section 108, the failure to give security will provide a simple imprisonment, and when the case is section 109 or 110, then the imprisonment for failure to give security may be simple or rigorous as the court or magistrate in each case direct. So it will be the discretionary power of the magistrate. Now section 123 talks about power to release persons imprisoned for failing to give security. So even if the person who is imprisoned for failing to give security is committed to a jail, then also he can be released. The power to release such person lies in the hands of district magistrate. So when the district magistrate is of the opinion that any order that is passed by the executive magistrate under section 117 or chief judicial magistrate in any other case, now the district magistrate is of the opinion that such person who is imprisoned for failing to give security under this chapter may be released without hazard to the community or to any other person, then he may, which means the district magistrate may order such person to be discharged. Now to simply understand subsection 2, it says, when a person is imprisoned under this chapter for failure to give security, then the following courts in the following cases can pass orders to reduce the amount of security or the number of sureties or the time for which such security is required. So the courts that has the power to do so will be the High Court and the Court of Sessions in any case, or the district magistrate or DM where the order was passed by executive magistrate under section 117, or the chief judicial magistrate in any other case. Subsection 3 says an order under subsection 1 may direct the discharge of such person either without condition or upon any condition which such person accepts. So either it will be without conditions or with conditions that such person accepts, provided that any condition imposed shall cease to be operative when the period for which such person was ordered to give security has expired. So when the period expires, condition imposed shall also cease. Now subsection 4 also says that the state government may prescribe the conditions upon which a conditional discharge may be made. So the state government may prescribe those conditions. Now subsection 5 says that if the district magistrate is of the opinion that any condition upon which the person was discharged by an order by the executive magistrate under section 117 or the Chief Judicial Magistrate in any other case was not fulfilled. So the conditions that were imposed by these magistrates were not fulfilled. Then if the district magistrate is of the same opinion, then he may cancel the same. And subsection 6 says that where such an conditional order of discharge has been cancelled under subsection 5, then any police officer may arrest that person without warrant and thereupon produce such a person before the district magistrate. And subsection 7 says, in such case, unless such person gives security in accordance with the terms and conditions of the original order for the unexpired portion of the term, which means the part of the term that was not expired when he was first committed, then the district magistrate may remand such person to prison to undergo such unexpired portion. So he will be committed to remand by the district magistrate and sent to prison to undergo such unexpired portion. Subsection 8 says that such person remanded to prison under subsection 7 shall be released subject to the provisions of section 122 at any time on giving security in accordance with the terms and conditions of the original order for the unexpired portion. So if such person gives security for the unexpired portion of the original order, then he will be released according to such security. Now subsection 9 says that such bond executed for keeping peace or good behavior may also be cancelled by the High Court or Court of Sessions at any time for sufficient reasons, or by the district magistrate if the order was passed by an executive magistrate under section 117, or by the chief judicial magistrate in any other case. So all these courts can cancel the bond that was executed under his order or under the order of any court in this district. Now subsection 10 says that any surety who has executed a bond under this chapter for such person may at any time apply to the court making such order to cancel the bond. So he can apply for a cancellation of the bond, the surety, and on such application being made to the court shall issue a summon or warrant as it thinks fit, requiring the person for whom such surety executed the bond to appear or to be brought before the court. So the person for whom such bond was executed, if such surety applies to the court to cancel the bond, then for whom such surety executed the bond, that person, that offender will be issued a summon or warrant as required and his appearance before the court will be made sure. Now let's move on to the last section of this chapter, section 124, that says security for unexpired period of bond. So when a person for whose appearance a summon or warrant has been issued under the proviso to subsection 3 of section 121 or under subsection 10 of section 123, if such person appears or is brought before the magistrate or court, then the magistrate or court shall cancel the bond executed by such person and shall order such person that such person will have to give a fresh security for the unexpired portion of term of such bond, and the security that is to be provided fresh for this purpose will have to be of the same description as the original security. Now every such order shall for the purposes of section 120 to 123 be deemed to be an order made under section 106 or 117. So that's all in this video. If you like my videos, then don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching this video.